Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Blissed? Dr. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes, how are you this lovely climate warming day?
Well, it's funny you mention that. So the neighbor has already called up and said, hey, I'm really in trouble and my leg's not working right. And so we had some hunters on our farm and they left the gate open and our cows got out. Can you help us? Can you fix that? And it's snowing and it's sleeting. And I saw those hunters on his farm. And, they looked like they were really as careless as could be. And sure enough, they left his gate open. His cows got out. His cows got into a field where our cows are looking for grass. So his cows are eating our grass because the guys he allowed to hunt on his property are careless. So my first thought is, I know you all have grandchildren. Why don't you go get them out there and chase the cows? Take them out of school. I mean, it's your problem, right? Why don't you get your children out there? I mean, I know they have jobs, but they need to take care of your cows, right? And how about any other family members? And before you do that, why don't you get those hunters out there and make them go chase the cows back to your place? Dr. Shealy, carelessness is out of control, and that's the one thing that really it bothers me.
I
Carelessness
cannot, under any circumstances, imagine a hunter being allowed by me anywhere on my property.
Right. And they ask us every once in a while, y'all, you don't mind if we kill your deer, do you? Actually, we do. You don't mind if we shoot your turkeys, do you? Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, it'd be a terrible thing if you did that. So you don't want to do that. But I tell you what, hunters, maybe at one time they were considerate. Now they skin their animals and they leave the carcasses wherever they are. They are just a careless, reckless, on the whole, bunch. And I have zero respect for most of them. Now we have a few hunters that are involved with USA Prepares, and I'm certain that they just don't cut animals up and just leave legs and hooves and entrails, and I'm pretty sure they don't do that. But I got to tell you, around here it's miserable, absolutely miserable. They deposit the guts of animals and the legs right by our mailbox. I mean, they're trying to tell us that they don't appreciate the fact that they won't let us slaughter our animals. We won't let them slaughter our animals. Dr. Shealy, so you were traveling last week and we missed you. Would you be able to tell us about your adventures with the big screen?
Well, I was on the Donna Drake show in New York. It's on CBS, I think it is. They supposedly have 12 million listeners. And then after they show it all over the country at some of the shows. So I'm looking forward to it. They haven't sent me the podcast yet, but I guess I'll get it. And
what? Yeah. Can you tell us about what it's like being on television today? How many people are involved in the production and
oh
is
God,
it
I would
scripted?
guess a dozen minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's a minimum count. I mean, they've got just people all over the place doing various things. They about 6 cameras going at the same time from different angles,
mm-hmm.
and it was perfectly pleasant, nice. And interestingly, she had a painful, partially numb finger. And I'm not quite sure whether she has prediabetes or whether she has cervical disc problem. But I tried my PEMF device on it, and it markedly reduced her pain. She bragged about it in the interview.
Well, hey, Lou, better get that soldering gun heated up. Oh, that's great. That's wonderful that that happened. So what was the thrust of the discussion? What kinds of, did she have a script, or not a script, but a series of questions that she asked you?
Well, she made a comment, first of all. She sort of acknowledged my background and then began asking questions about what I do and my favorite this, that, and the other. And so it was a nice opportunity to put that information out.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. So when that appears on the internet, would you let us know so we can all watch it?
Oh, of course, of course.
So the last time I was on television, Dr. Shealy, I mean, well, it wasn't the last time, but one of the times I was on television, the NBC Today show did a special on technology, and they sent their technology talent guy to Virginia to interview. I was building a network for the school system, and they couldn't believe such a poor school system had such fantastic technology. It didn't sync with the economy of the county. It didn't sync with the technology that we were building for the students, and that's because I taught the teachers and the students how to build it, and we bought the parts and built it. So there was no profit that was going to an IBM or a Tandy or Compaq or Hewlett Packard or any of those companies, and so the savings went right into the network, into the computers, into the software. And actually, we got a lot of software for free because I negotiated with the software manufacturers. And so they sent they brought one camera, and I think about 4 people showed up, and it was very interesting how they did it. So when you look at what the final product was versus all the people running around with the cameras and the microphones and all that, it took a lot of time. It took a whole day to do maybe a 7-minute segment on television. And I was kind of surprised. I didn't realize that it took that long to do such a short television piece. But they edit and edit and edit. And I guess that's what they're going to do with yours, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that and seeing it. Dr. Shealy, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us before we get started?
No, I'm open line Monday.
Okay. So White Castle makes these things they call sliders. Some people might call them hamburgers. Some people might call them micro burgers. But they have hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and jalapeno burgers. And they freeze them. And you can buy a 16-pack of these hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and at the big box stores. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at Sam's Club and other outlets. But they have decided that they should recall them because a third-party laboratory found listeria in a sample of one of the company's manufacturing facilities. So these were sold in 23 states in grocery stores, Aldi, Sam's Club, Walmart, the big names. And so the question for you is, so what happens if we eat a listeria burger?
Well, the chances are you get sick.
Yeah. Can we die from this, or are we just going to be
yes. Let's face it. Every infectious disease can kill some people.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how strong you are to start with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And one of the things that we do, and maybe I should say this is something that is part of my book. One of the things that we do here at our house is if we buy something that's frozen food, we'll put it in the freezer for a while. Let's say a couple of months. And then we'll wait to see, and this is like a thing that we do, a general policy almost, that we'll put it in the freezer and we'll wait and check the news and we'll see if it's been recalled. And if it's been recalled, then we don't eat it. If it hasn't been recalled, then we take our chances and think that, we did the best we could to prevent ourselves from getting sick. So what do you think about doing that? Putting it on hold for 2-3 months, Dr. Shealy, whatever it is, if it's frozen. Do you think that's just a waste of time?
Obviously, I freeze a huge amount of stuff every summer. I have enough frozen food to last me a year already from one or two people.
Okay. Well, I was visiting a friend, and I was helping with some wiring and some plumbing and things like that. And my friend said to me, this electronic dimmer switch, we're concerned about it. What about the electromagnetic radiation from the dimmer switch? It controls LED and incandescent lighting. You have actually a couple of them, 3 of them, I guess. And they're the latest kind. It has a toggle on-off, and then on the side of the toggle on-off, it has a slider from very dim to full brightness. Or maybe, I think probably full brightness, or 99% brightness. And he said to me, they're concerned about the electromagnetic radiation from this relatively new dimmer switch. And when I say new, I mean, less than a year old. And I said, okay, yes, it absolutely positively emits electromagnetic radiation. But do you really think you need to take that out? Because if we take, and I didn't have it with me, I said, if we take a tri-field meter over to your refrigerator, you're going to find an enormous amount of electromagnetic radiation. If we take it over to this stove that you have, this glass top stove, we're going to find out that the computer controls, because you just push this you put your thumb or your forefinger on this little circle, and it reads the capacitance between you and the surface of the stove, and the stove comes on, it's not like a switch or a knob or a button that you actually physically push that is the switch. This controls a computer that activates a relay that powers up that burner. Or if you go over to, you'll find a lot of electromagnetic radiation coming from the computer through the glass there. And then you've got your dishwasher, and that's computer controlled. And wow, this toaster over here has a computer control. It's not like a regular toaster that has a mechanical heat sensor that shuts it off after a predetermined amount of heat has been exposed to the bread. And then over here you have a toaster oven that has a computer control. And then you've got your Wi-Fi, and then you've got your ceiling fans, and then on and on and on. And then you have your LED lighting over the counter and under the counter. And I said, the only thing that you have in this whole part of the house that's not emitting electromagnetic radiation to a dangerous extent is this one halogen light. That's it. Everything else is emitting electromagnetic radiation. And his comment was, how do we get away from this? And I said, it's pretty darn hard, because you'll be going back to the 1800s. Dr. Shealy, do you have any comments about that kind of a discussion? We're going into a break, but we are, if you go to your friend's house, any friend's house, you're going to be exposed, you're going to be bathing in electromagnetic radiation, because they have the Wi-Fi, they have the wireless speakers, they have the wireless, and they have no idea what they're doing to themselves. Can we talk about that when we come back, how dangerous this really is? Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, class, and before we get into the discussion of electromagnetic radiation that's all around us, we've got Sharon in Montana. Sharon, welcome. You're on with Dr. Norm Shealy.
Yeah, good morning. I do have a question for Dr. Shealy. A kind of acquaintance friend of mine, she's older than I, so I guess she's probably into her 70s. They believe she has Parkinson's disease. She just had a whole bunch of tests done, and she's got a tremor and having trouble using her left arm and stuff. What I'm wondering, is there anything that she could do to slow the progression, and what is she looking at, just for my sake? Is it a fast-moving problem, or I don't know too much, but I've heard of it, but I just really didn't know anybody that had it.
Well, my favorite case of a severe Parkinsonism, a couple of months ago, I had a man who was so bad, he couldn't stand with two people holding him. He had two people put him on the table for me to examine. 1 month later, his wife came, Doc, come see my husband. I walked to the entrance to the clinic. He walked 40 feet from his car into the clinic, all because of wearing our gamma pimp on his head an hour or two a day. It is the only thing I've seen that seems to be able to reverse Parkinsonism.
Really? What is it called?
Gamma PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency.
Okay. And you sell those probably?
Yeah, it's on my website. I've been working with this for 8 or 9 years, and, you know, this kind of electric therapy has been around for quite a while, but ours is the only one I know that puts the brain into gamma. Gamma is the woohoo, in the zone state of total peace and detachment.
Do you still function fine, though? I mean, if you're using this, it doesn't affect your ability to talk to people or function?
Oh, no. You could walk around with it all day on your head.
Huh. And you do it an hour or two a day?
I'm sorry?
An hour or two a day?
That's a minimum, yeah. But to have a good effect, that's what it takes.
Okay, the next question, of course, comes down to, because I don't think they're extremely well off. I mean, they're not dirt poor, but how much is something like that cost?
Well, unfortunately, it's $2,300.
Okay.
It's not cheap, but the one that sells the most is not nearly as good as $6,000, so how is it a bargain compared to that one?
Okay. And so have you had other people have good experiences with this?
Oh, yeah. We've successfully treated 10 opioid addicts with it. We've had hundreds of people with anxiety and depression helped by it.
Okay, that's the same thing you were talking about, depression, too. But it helps with Parkinson's. I mean, have you had other people with Parkinson's or stuff improve a lot?
Yes.
Okay. Because, you know, I don't know, I could throw it by her. I mean, I know they've done a little bit of alternate stuff. You know, I mean, not like way over the top, but I know that it's kind of distressing. She likes to do crafts a lot, and her arm's just shaking really bad, and her, we were eating with him recently, and, you know, her husband kind of had to help her with cutting things up and stuff. And so I was just wondering if you had any success at maybe
in early Parkinsonism. Parkinsonism, daily use of our bliss oils, earth, and crystal can take rid of the treatment. I've got a woman who's now 2 years free of treatment just using earth and crystal bliss.
So if they were interested, maybe they should call you and talk to you about it and see what they think.
Well, that certainly would help. I'm delighted to do that.
And is your number on the website then?
Yes.
Your phone number? Okay. Okay.
Dr.
Because
Shealy,
I'm just thinking, you know, they're you know, for their age, they're rather active people, and so this is just not a, you know, good diet. It's not.
Well, Parkinsonism is a progressive disease. Once it starts, it often goes on and on and on, and worsens.
Yeah. Do you have any clue what causes it, or is it just one of those things that happens?
We do it. Well, once upon a time, many years ago, we thought it was due to a specific influenza case way back in the 1920s, but obviously that no longer exists, and we don't often find a cause.
Okay. Yeah.
Sharon, can you hold through the break?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I've got an experience with this device, and I'd like to share that with you.
Okay.
We used it on my mom. And I'll tell you what happened when we come back. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, and Sharon in Montana is with us. Both are instructors. Dr. Shealy, I had a quick question to ask you before I make a comment about my mom and the PEMF device. The PEMF device that I have here, is it the same as the Gamma?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay. So, Sharon, here's what happened with my mom. Mm-hmm. It wasn't called Gamma before. Is that right?
We call it chocolate.
It's the same one, but it was not called Gamma. Okay. So, Sharon, my mom was in her 90s before she passed away. And our kitchen, we have a pretty large kitchen. It's about, close to maybe 28, 30 feet long. And it's a center of activity here in our home. And my mom had her favorite chair in the kitchen. And she would sit in the chair and she would read. And across the kitchen we had, the work area where the kitchen sink is, and the island and the stove, and, so forth. And so my wife and I might be preparing, lunch or dinner or breakfast, and my mom would be reading in her chair. And I could say, Mom, 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 and she would hear me. So it's all true. And so Dr. Shealy's, I thought we'd try his PEMF device with the coil, put it around my mom's head. I asked Dr. Shealy about this prior, and he said, sure. So I put it over her head, and she wore it like a necklace. And this thing has an antenna coil that is a little larger than a thick pencil. When we're in elementary school, we had these extra large pencils, and about that diameter, and it has a cord that attaches to the device. And so we let her try it for about 15 minutes, and then maybe 30 minutes the next day. And then within a couple days, Mrs. Finelli and I'd be talking just in a normal tone, not calling my mom, and my mom would engage in the conversation. It was kind of like the difference between having hearing aids for the first time and not having hearing aids, when a person is hard of hearing. That was what I saw. And she was more interested in reading, more interested in everything, more interested in doing all kinds of things around the house at, 94. So I just wanted to share with you that was my experience. This is not a commercial. This just happened. And I asked Dr. Shealy after that if he had considered doing a study with the hearing impaired. Now, my grandfather, my mother's father, was hearing impaired also, but he happened to be in World War I, and there was lots of explosions going on all around him, so that was probably part of it. But what I'm saying is some of it might have been hereditary, but I don't have it. So I saw that. Now, I did not see a result for Parkinson's. However, my dad did have Parkinson's disease, and he had the kind of symptoms that you're talking about. And if I had the PEMF device while he was alive, I certainly would have tried it.
So it's not particularly uncomfortable to wear. Do you have to be sitting? Can you move around with it, or do you have to kind of stay in one place?
The original device was plugged into the wall. We have changed it now so that it has a rechargeable battery. You can walk around with it.
Okay.
People do prefer that.
Yeah, I would think so.
But other than that, the output's the same.
Okay, so would you otherwise recommend any kind of various medicines that work or don't work, or what is your take on that?
I don't know a medicine that is of much value.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if they've given her any medicines or anything yet. They've just kind of settled on this diagnosis, and it appears to be they've ruled out a bunch of other things. So it appears that this is probably her problem.
Right.
So I will pass this on to her and see if maybe she can call you, and I'll just tell her, when I don't see her all the time, but I might call her and just talk to her about. I might be open to it because I know that she surely likes to keep busy, and this is not a good sign for her, in order to continue doing things she does. It's already cutting into her ability to do stuff that she likes to do. So, yeah, it's kind of weird. I've always known it's been around. I just haven't personally known anybody with it. So, all right, that's all I actually
Sharon,
wanted to know. Okay.
Before you go, Sharon, I have another comment. So my dad had this malady, and it seemed really difficult for any doctor to figure out, and this is when we lived in Virginia, any doctor to figure out exactly what was wrong with him. And so they brought in a specialist. And one of the symptoms that my dad had, he and I would go shopping, and we'd be in, a big box store, and he was shuffling. And he never shuffled before. He was in World War II, and he was taught how to march and, lift up your feet. And he was shuffling, kind of dragging his feet. And I'd say, Dad, you're shuffling. You got to pick up your feet. And he'd go, okay. and then he'd go back to shuffling. And he could not seem to stop the dragging his feet. Now, he could walk fine, but it seemed like there was extra friction involved in walking because he didn't pick up his feet as much as he used to. And so we brought this to the doctor's attention, and they brought in a specialist. And the specialist did a very simple test. The specialist said, okay, stand here, stand straight, okay? And the doctor went behind him, stood behind him very close, and put his hands, one hand on each one of my dad's shoulders. So left hand on, they were both facing the same direction, and they were close. The doctor was just right behind him. And the doctor put his left hand on my dad's left shoulder, his right hand on my dad's right shoulder, and then he just pulled him back a little bit. I mean, didn't just try to flip him down on the ground, just pulled him back just as if he were going to move his shoulders 1 inch backwards. And my dad lost his balance.
Oh, wow.
And that test, the doctor said, right then and there, he has Parkinson's. Simple as that. That's, now, I'm not recommending this as a diagnosis. I'm just saying that's what I saw. Dr. Shealy, would you like to comment on that?
Well, yeah, there are many, many different things. The shuffling of the gait is second only to the tremor, probably. And, of course, then it begins to affect the speech, and ultimately it affects everything in your body.
Yeah.
We, Sharon, we have an instructor, Marty Barrett. And I've known Marty Barrett since the 1970s. And she teaches college-level biology. And she's been on the air with us. And she talked to Dr. Shealy. So I'm not spilling any secrets. She talked to him on the air about she has Parkinson's. And one of the symptoms that she noticed, actually she didn't notice it first, one of her children noticed it. And her daughter said, Mom, your writing's so small. Oh, you used to write, when you wrote cursive, the letters were larger. Now they're so tiny. And that was one of the symptoms that she had. And, of course, she has, a number of the other symptoms as well. So I just wanted to share with you, I'm certainly not a medical doctor. I'm just sharing experiences and things that I've heard and seen with you so that you can maybe do some more research and apply some of that.
Has she tried Dr. Shealy's device?
I'm sorry?
Has Marty tried Dr. Shealy's device?
No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But she can. And I'm going to call her about that. Dr. Shealy, so if I were to lend Marty the PIMF that I have, what would you suggest that she do with it?
I would say again, use it a minimum of an hour or two a day.
Around her neck or on her chest, or sit on it, or
with a cap on your head, I call it a baseball cap. It fits very comfortably on the head. Okay.
All right. I can do that, and Sharon, I can let you know how it works. Or as a matter of fact, one of the things that it's kind of an unwritten thing, maybe it's even unsaid, but all of our instructors, I want to have access to all of our instructors. I mean, it's kind of a unwritten rule, if you will, that if one of us needs help and another one has an answer, I would like to make sure that connection is available. And so I will do this, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to have Marty have your number, and she can call you. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, if she would let me know
or you
how
can
it
call
works
her.
for her, I'd really be. Yeah, okay.
Okay, we'll do that. Or you can call her. And I'm certain that she would certainly let that happen, because I've known her a very, very long time. As a matter of fact,
I remember having her on the show before, listening to her.
Yeah, she was my chemistry lab partner. It just so happened that there was an empty lab table, had two stools, and I put my books down to get my glassware, and I came back, and there she was, the prettiest girl in the university. It's my lab partner. Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
All right. Okay. Yeah, well, I really appreciate you giving me these ideas, and I will actually see if they want to pursue this. I just, like I said, they're reasonably active older people, and I just really hate to see this happen. If there's something that could slow that down, that would be, a lot better. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Sharon, thank you.
Bye.
That was Sharon in Montana. Dr. Shealy, my dad used to say to me, Ben, don't get old. and I think he was talking about some of these things that happen to many people. Dr. Shealy, we're talking about electromagnetic radiation. And we're talking about, this friend who has these dimmers in their home, husband and wife. And so they have these dimmers, and they're wondering about, taking them out. And I said, well, if you start there, where are you going to stop? Now, I certainly did not recommend not doing it. I said, I'll tell you what, I'd like you to borrow the tri-field meter that I have, and you can see for yourself, because I have a feeling that the dimmers are just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg, because you're going to find out that there's a lot worse things in your house than just that. Meaning the clothes washer, the clothes dryer, the computerized toaster, the computerized stove, computerized refrigerator, freezer. The list goes on and on and on. And, of course, the Wi-Fi and the cell phones, and then the electric motors, the ceiling fans, and the wireless speakers, and, of course, the smart televisions. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts about how do we get away from it, or do we just say, nah, it's okay, no need to get away from it, just live with it?
I don't like it. As a matter of fact, in 2003, I actually sold my clinic building here in Springfield because I didn't like the fact that when the building was turned off, there was 2.5 milligauss of background noise, so to speak. I walked in the parking lot. Everywhere I went, it was 2.5 to 3 milligauss of ambient activity. And that's why I couldn't find a physician at the moment to take over the practice. I decided to retire and move out to my farm where I could avoid at least all that background stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't like any extra electricity except the safe stuff near my head.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back with Dr. Norm Shealy. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us, medical doctor. Dr. Shealy, so I have this concern about going to other people's homes because their homes have so many electrical devices, electronic devices. We all have wiring in our homes, for electric lights. I used to, flip the switch on if you wanted the light on, and it would be an incandescent light bulb. If you wanted your toaster, it was just simply a nichrome wire inside the toaster, and it would heat up and glow red hot, and it would, toast the toast if you wanted toast. The stove would be a pilot light gas stove or a turn the dial electric cal rod element on an electric stove. Refrigerators didn't have computer controls. It was a much simpler way of life. But now there are devices that are on all the time waiting for a command from a remote. A remote control, push the button and fully power the device on that's partially powered on. And we've got wireless devices. Now, I just don't understand. When I built the studio here at the farm, I wanted to have a speaker so that if I step away from the microphone during a break, I can turn on a stereo system and the speakers will play the what's happening, what's out going over the air, so that I can run back in the studio, get back to the microphone in time for, the live airing. But it's connected with wires, the old way. Speakers with wires. I have the stereo plugged in. I've got the monitors as far away from me. Actually, I extended the top of the desk so it hangs out another. I can't touch the monitors. They're so far away that I can't touch the monitors in front of me. And that's the way I have it. But other people have all these wireless devices, and I'm concerned about going to their houses. Am I the only one, Dr. Shealy, or do you think that, do you find that you and other patients and your family members are concerned about this, or is it just me?
Well, I am very concerned about it because what I call unsafe, and that's most of it, most unsafe electrical current can damage your brain. We've known for 30 plus years that just being exposed to certain kinds of extra electromagnetic crap doubles the incidence of brain cancer. Now, that alone is enough for me not to want to go near it.
Okay. So let me just share with our class a few of the most ridiculous devices that I've ever heard of. And these are available right now. You can go to Amazon and get just about everything I'm going to tell you about. And you can get it. You might not be able to get it in time for Christmas, but you can. But let me just explain this one. So I'm looking at a coffee cup. It's a white coffee mug, and it's got the name Ember, E-M-B-E-R. It is a temperature-controlled smart mug, 10-ounce, 1-hour battery life, white, app-controlled heated coffee mug. That's the headlines. Ember, temperature-controlled smart mug, 10-ounce, 1-hour battery life, white, app-controlled heated coffee mug. It's $79.94, $80. And it's available for free shipping. Now, what we're talking about is, so you have a coffee mug that is on a saucer. And this coffee mug will heat, the saucer will heat your coffee mug. And you can control the temperature of this coffee mug by your smartphone. So your coffee, I'm not kidding.
Of course, I do want to correct your grammar.
Okay.
By your dumb phone.
Well, I think the dumb phone would be next to a dumb person, because seriously, do you really need to heat your coffee mug controlled by a battery that is controlled by your phone? Now I remember, these saucer type devices that were plugged into a wall cord, 120 volts, 125, and it was a coffee warmer, so you could warm your coffee mug if you don't drink the coffee before it gets cold. Well, but this is over the top, $80 for a device to keep your coffee warm, but you got to have your smartphone with you, to talk to this thing. It's crazy. Now it's $80. I would never. I thought $40 for a Yeti insulated mug was crazy, but this is okay. So that's one thing. Now these are some of the best gifts that you can give a stupid person. All right. All right. So then. I've got some more. I'd like to share these with you, Dr. Shealy, because it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts what people are doing. And this is just an eye-opener of what the people in your workplace, where you're all typing in each other's appointments, what they've got around you. Or if you're flipping hamburgers for other people, your coworkers are going to have some of these kinds of devices, and they're going to think they're really cool. But there are some smart people who have these devices, and I can't get over it. I'm stunned, and it makes me, the more I learn, the more I want to stay home. And I'm not kidding about that. So if you had a business, would you allow your employees to bring this stuff in to further blast you with more electromagnetic radiation? You all blissed? Dr. Shealy's with us, normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy's a medical doctor, surgeon of the year, author of over 30 books, and he's been on television. He's all over the internet. So if you want to find Dr. Shealy, you can go to normshealy.com. You can buy your vitamins, minerals, and supplements where I do at normshealy.com, or you can go to his office in Springfield, Missouri, and you can pick them up. You can call his office and make an appointment and see him. You can visit him via Skype. You can have a Skype consultation. So it's all available at normshealy.com. And Dr. Shealy, would you like to give out your phone number for those who would like to contact your office?
417-351-5221.
Yep, 417-351-5221 in Springfield, Missouri. That's the Central Time Zone class. If you're interested in getting more information, from Dr. Shealy. Okay, so Dr. Shealy, we're talking about wireless devices, just, beyond stupid. So there's a standard size carry-on luggage that you can buy, and it'll fit, in the overhead bin. So it's standardized. But over the top is, for $225, you can splurge and buy one of these carry-on bags that has a battery built in. Now, this battery, I'm not kidding, this is a battery built in that can charge your phone 5 times before it runs out of current. So if you're not smart enough to bring a charger with you, you can always bring this carry-on bag with you, and you can charge your phone 5 times, assuming that the battery in the luggage has a full charge. So no need to think about having a charger and a cord with you. Well, you need the cord, but this luggage, which has wheels, will charge your battery. Any comments about that? $225, Dr. Shealy.
Don't give me one. I would throw it away.
All right. How about this? How about for $100, you can buy a wireless mobile printer. Now, what this thing is, it's about a little bit larger than a deck of cards. So you can have this printer, and you can put it in your pocket, and if you want to print something that you just took on your, an image you just took with your cell phone, you can print it out wirelessly.
Don't give me one.
Who thinks this stuff up? All right. Well, this one's kind of over the top. It's less expensive. It's around $10. So, people like to take pictures of themselves. They're really impressed, and they say, look at me, look at me, look at me. And they take these selfies. Well, they even have these sticks so they can have this. It's kind of like a cue stick with a holder that will hold your smartphone so you can take a picture of yourself. The problem is pressing the button to take the picture. So they make a remote control so that you can take a picture of yourself with this remote control button. So think of it kind of like a garage door opener, and you just hold that, out of the camera's view, and you click the button, and that remotely tells the smartphone to take a picture of you.
Don't give me one.
What a great idea. Another wireless device. So for $40, you can get Bluetooth speakers. Now, you don't have to have a wire between whatever the device that's going to transmit the signal to your speakers. You don't need that. But you do need to plug the darn thing in unless you have it battery powered. So now we're talking about speakers without wires, but a wire to run the device, which I don't understand, because speakers, you don't need to power them anyway. All you need to do is hook the speaker up to your receiver, and the receiver will power your device. But you can have wireless Bluetooth speakers. And if that's not good enough, and you need to have speakers in the shower, now they have a waterproof or water-resistant version.
Oh.
I'm not kidding. I mean, this is the reason. What I'm trying to describe is that if you think that you're going into your neighbor's house for Christmas and you're not going to be bombarded, these are just a few of the stupid things that people buy. Okay, then you can have a wireless camera. Let's talk about that for just a second. So there are these wireless doorbells, and they're called Ring, R-I-N-G. So if you have a doorbell, and you can get the Amazon Ring doorbell, it will take a picture of whoever's coming to your door. Okay, it will actually transmit all the time. So this thing's wireless, transmitting whenever it thinks that something is worth sending an image to, or you can, 24/7, this camera can be on. So your camera, if you live in a neighborhood, or your doorbell is aimed at your neighbor's house right across the street. And if he has one, he's named at yours. So do you want to close your curtains? I mean, do you? Well, just in case he's got a doorbell that's taking 24/7 images of you. Well, let's say you have inside your house, you've got some other cameras for your security system. I mean, if you think that you can't trust your daughter, so you have a camera in her room, okay, or your son's room, or whoever's in your house. You've got cameras all over the place, right? I mean, that's what some dumb people do. Well, we don't have any of that here. But actually, we have a security system, but it's not wireless. And but anyway, So there are these cameras everywhere in people's houses, and they're connected to a device like the Ring doorbell. So a guy who takes over the doorbell can take over the transmission of these cameras to the owner's cell phone, and you can have multiple cell phones communicate with these doorbells and cameras. So what's happening now is the neighbors are taking control of other neighbors' cameras in their homes. And now you can have all kinds of blackmail and bribery and all kinds of things going on because people are stupid enough to have wireless devices. If it's wireless, anybody can pick it up. Think of it like a radio. So if you're listening to Dr. Shealy on radio on Thursday afternoon in Springfield, Missouri, the radio station cannot prevent you from listening. They can't do it. It's impossible because it's in the clear over the air. Well, the same thing with wireless devices. It's over the air. And if you have enough smarts, you can hack into it. So what's happening is people are just saying, well, what's the default password for a Ring doorbell? Whatever it is. Let's say it's Ring 1234 or admin or ABCDE. Okay? Whatever the default password is, the neighbors can say, well, let's see, are there any wireless device? Oh, here's some Ring doorbells. What's the default password? 1234. Wow. Hey, look, it's working. So now your neighbor's watching whatever you think you're watching privately from your doorbell. That's the kind of stuff that's going on. And to prove it to you, the police are saying, tell you what, to keep everybody safe, we will let you turn on the device so that we can see everything that's going on in the neighborhood. That way we keep you all safe. So now you have a mesh network of doorbells, and all the doorbells are looking at everything. So if you think that you're going to be able to walk your dog down the street without the police seeing you do it, you're confused. And if you've got your doorbell network to your home internal wireless cameras, and you think the police aren't seeing that too, you're confused. Dr. Shealy, I just wanted to share with our class the amount of wireless communications that's going on, and that's just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. Are you concerned?
Yes, I've been concerned for 40 years.
Okay.
I don't like it. And
I don't either. And just to show how stupid things are, there's even a wireless garage door opener. Now, we have had wireless garage door openers, since probably the 1960s, 1970s. They were really simple. You get the garage door opener, and with that, you get this little button that's battery powered. You push the button, and it opens your garage door when you're close to it, when you're close to your garage door. Okay. Well, now you can control your garage door with your smartphone. So you can open and close your garage door from anywhere in the country. And you can have it open and close at certain times based on a delay or whenever you tell it to open and close. So you can have it. So if you're home at 5:30 every afternoon, you can have it open at let's say 5:20, just in case you're early. And there it is. Your garage door is open for you. But can it be hacked? Of course it can. So from anywhere in the world, somebody can take over your garage door. But people are not thinking. They're not thinking. And that's a great reason to get out of the city, because as more and more of these devices get installed, there's more and more electromagnetic radiation. The more and more we're killing ourselves faster and faster. That's called the quickening, the increasing rate of things happening. So I don't know what the answer is, because Dr. Shealy, there's so many stupid people and they outnumber us. How do we tell them, have you lost your mind? I mean, without saying, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should say, have you lost your mind? Not only are you killing yourself, you're killing me. The problem is I don't think they believe it. Okay. So if you want to see how dumb your neighbors are going to be after Christmas, you can look right now, and you can look at electronic presents. Yeah, just look, or electronic Christmas presents, or do this. Save yourself a lot of time. Wireless Christmas presents. Just do a search. See if you came up with what we came up with. Okay, Dr. Shealy, is something that I was very concerned about, but I don't know the answer to it. And I was wondering, sometimes a tree will get hit by a storm and be falling over and it'll be across the road or the driveway and we go to cut it down. And the question is, do these plants, trees feel pain? We cut our lawn and we're just mowing it because we think it, looks better if it's mowed. Are there ultrasonic screams that we can't hear from the blades of grass that are being cut, from the trees that are being cut down? Have you ever thought about that?
Have to admit I haven't.
Well, I'll bet you there's something to it. And I wonder if the trees that are in a forest talk to each other. Maybe not the same lexicon that we use, but I'm wondering if they can communicate. I wonder, how do they all get along? Actually, some of them don't get along. There are vines that don't get along with anybody, and I guess they would be called the trolls of the forest, right? These vines choke the life out of trees that are causing them no harm. They would be the trolls, the internet trolls of the forest. Well, I was just wondering about
according to the internet, trees send distress signals about drought and disease or insect attacks, so that other trees can alter their behavior when they receive these messages. They're called mycorrhizal networks.
So they do talk.
That's what it says. Smithsonian Institute.
There you go. So trees talk, just as we do. Now, if we spoke a little nicer and a little more deliberately to each other, we could prevent our neighbors from having these stupid devices in their homes and polluting the air. They're worried about pollution. How about that? We'll be right back. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy, I have heard medical professionals suggest taking a baby aspirin once a day. Baby aspirin once a day would be the equivalent of taking a quarter of a regular aspirin once a day. And, cardiologists have been recommending it, then they change their mind, then they recommend it, then they change their mind. And there's an article that I was reading that said taking 3 aspirin a week increases the chance of living a longer life by 20%. And it says aspirin has a protective effect for bowel and gastrointestinal cancers. What are your thoughts about aspirin? And, when we get to be an age of a senior, 55 plus, and we take an aspirin, a baby aspirin, about 81 milligrams per day or not. What are your thoughts?
No. I don't believe in it. And there is, to me, controversy, and even in the last 6 months, there's been a couple of articles suggesting that it really doesn't help at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and does it do any damage?
Well, it can cause lymphocytic colitis, and it can cause intestinal bleeding, even though small doses.
My understanding from 30 years ago, and maybe it's changed, that if you have a headache, you can take an aspirin. It seems to cause the symptoms to disappear. But my understanding is that we actually really don't understand what an aspirin does in the body. We don't understand how it works. It works, but we don't understand how it works. Is that still true, or has that changed?
Well, we know something about its anti-inflammatory capabilities. However, even 60 years ago in medical school, I was taught that there were 16,000 people a year who died from taking aspirin because of bleeding.
Okay, so what about the alternative? There used to be commercials on television back probably in the 70s that would, and I don't know what's advertised on television because I haven't watched television since, probably over 20 years now. I'm talking about over-the-air type television, ABC, CBS, NBC. I haven't watched that in 20 years. But there used to be, commercials saying, more hospitals recommend ibuprofen or something like that versus aspirin. And they were talking about like how aspirin is insinuating that aspirin is dangerous, but the ibuprofen or whatever they were recommending at the time was not. Is there a case to be made for that, or is that just because the hospitals were given ibuprofen at a lower cost so they could say that, so they could sell more retail ibuprofen?
Ibuprofen, all the so-called NSAIDs have risks of bleeding. All of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it seems to me that really what the pharmaceutical/pharmacomafia really does is manage symptoms. Is that right? Other than antibiotics.
Exactly.
So if you feel this ache or pain, we'll just kill the ache or pain, but we're not going to fix the cause. We'll just kill the symptoms. We'll kill the messenger.
Right.
Okay. A guy named Sidney Gottlieb, Gottlieb, the most prolific torturer of his generation, used potent drugs, extreme temperatures, food and sleep deprivation, and electroshock experiments for mind control during during his term with the CIA, and he considered experiments on human expendables. Those would be prisoners, addicts, mentally and terminally ill patients, and unwitting people, even children. And so he used all of these things. Have you ever followed any of that, of the torture that Sidney Gottlieb did in, up until he died in 1999 at the age of 80, but he was something else. Have you heard of him, Dr. Shealy?
I've heard the name, but I don't know the details.
Okay. All right. Were you taught ethics in medical school where you were told not to damage people?
Well, it was never a course in it. It might have been mentioned once or twice in a single sentence, but never anything specific.
Okay, we'll be right back. There's a thought that nightmares prepare us for real-life dangers. People who have bad dreams handle stress situations more efficiently, the study finds. So there's a partly funded by the U.S. government, a study which brain regions light up during nightmares. So they monitored the brains of people while they slept and woke them up and asked them if they were having nightmares, and they kept a diary. And they think that there is a relationship between nightmares and preparing us for real-life dangers. Dr. Shealy, do you have any thoughts on nightmares, what that causes them, what they're for, why we have them, and so forth?
Well, I think it could be that as one reason, but I think there's no question that people who've had a traumatic childhood or major trauma early in life are more likely to continue having nightmares. So it makes me wonder, if you have it because you've had bad nightmares, how it's protecting you for the future. Mm-hmm. Am I being vague?
And nightmares can be pretty terrifying. And if I've had nightmares, and I have absolutely correlated and experimented, as you mentioned. If you have sugar before you go to bed, you're looking forward to a great nightmare. And absolutely, there is a 1.0 correlation. I mean, it is 100% correlation that if I have some kind of sugar before I go to bed, I will have a nightmare. It's a certainty. And the kind of nightmares that I have, and I don't do that anymore. I mean, that's crazy. The kind of nightmares that I would have is I can't get there. Wherever it is I'm trying to get to, I can't get there. If I'm swimming, it just seems to get, the faster I swim, the less I can get there. Or if I'm trying to climb it, whatever it is, I can't get to the top. If whatever it is, I cannot reach where I'm trying to go in these sugar-induced nightmares. So the answer for me is that's really simple. Don't have any sugar, and especially before bed. So any thought of what that might mean, Dr. Shealy? That kind of a nightmare, or is that common?
I believe it's probably common, but I don't know because I, fortunately, am not a sugaraholic. I haven't even bought sugar since 1970. I wonder about alcohol. I don't drink enough to know whether that would do the same thing, but theoretically, alcohol is metabolized almost as pure sugar.
Mm-hmm. And that was something I wanted to ask you about, alcohol. I decided to see what Alcoholics Anonymous is up to, and I was traveling, and I had a couple hours, and I just went to the internet, and I did a search on Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. I think it's originally called the Washingtonian Society, and they're all over. I mean, you can go for the afternoon meetings, you can go to the evening meetings, you go to the weekend meetings. I mean, if in a city, you can probably go to at least 10 meetings a day if you're so inclined. And I wanted to see what these guys were like. So, and you don't have to sign in, you don't have to say who you are. So I just showed up, and I sat through one of the meetings, and I was really impressed with the lexicon, the ability to speak, and the intelligence level of the people that I met anonymously at this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. So I'm not an alcoholic. I hardly ever drink at all. But the question relates to this. The people would go around the room and say, hey, I'm Joe. I'm an alcoholic. I've been an alcoholic for 25 years, and I haven't had a drink in 25 years. Hi, I'm Sue. I'm an alcoholic. I'm relatively new here. I've been only here for a couple years, and I've been an alcoholic for a couple years. Haven't had a drink in a couple years. Now, the question is, they are saying that they are an alcoholic as if it is a current condition, but yet they haven't had any alcohol in years. And now, when we talk about cancer, someone will say, well, I had cancer, but I don't have it anymore. So the question is, why is it that alcoholics at Alcoholics Anonymous say that they're alcoholics, but yet they've been alcohol-free for years or decades or even longer, but they say they are an alcoholic when we say, I used to have this disease, but I don't have it. I don't have cancer anymore. What is alcoholism a disease? Is it a mental condition? Is it a lapse in judgment? Is it a collapse of morals? Dr. Shealy, what do you think alcoholism is? Okay.
All of the above. But Alcoholics Anonymous has this basic philosophy that if you truly have been addicted and in trouble from one way or another from drinking too much alcohol, that means you've got a permanent stigma. And by admitting it, you are helping to prevent yourself from going there again. And it's worked for them the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous actually spoke to my high school when I was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm. And was it called the Washingtonian Society back then, or it had changed its name?
I don't remember. I just remember he was the founder. It was still called Alcoholics Anonymous even then.
Okay. All right. And it seems to me that, yeah, it does work. And the people who attended, I got to tell you, I was really impressed with, the level of education of some of these alcoholics. They weren't people that were street people. These were people who were really, really bright. I saw one guy with a camel hair coat. We're talking about a coat that was easily $1,000, and it was either brand new or he just had it dry cleaned, and it looked like he was a pillar of the village there, of the city. Either he was a lawyer or he was an upper level political type. Somebody who certainly had some wherewithal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had that coat. And he was there at the AA meeting, and they asked me, if I'd like to tell my story, and I didn't have a story. I was just there to see what it was about, and but nobody would come on the air with me as a result of that meeting. But one gal, I remember, she was really interesting. She came up to me after the meeting, and she remembered my name because I introduced myself as Vincent, and she said, something to me, and I said, so. What is it about you guys? Or I asked her some kind of a question, and she said, "Oh, we're just a bunch of drunks." But no one had a drink, and they considered themselves a bunch of drunks. Quite fascinating. What damage do you think a habitual drinker has done to him or herself, Dr. Shealy? Is there physical damage that, it's just not going to get fixed? It's it's a permanent damage that they're going to live with?
Number one damage is to the liver. Number 2 is the pancreas, and probably number 3 then to the brain.
Okay. Are all of those permanent?
They can be. Depends on how far gone you are before you stop. But the body does have a remarkable ability to repair itself if you stop before serious damage occurs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you say serious, we're talking about falling down drunk, don't remember what happened, a bunch of times?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I worked with an alcoholic. He was the boss many, 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 many years, decades ago. And he always smelled like he had been drinking. Always. I mean, it seemed like it was coming out of his pores. And he was probably in his 50s. I was much, much younger at the time. He was probably in his 50s, and one day he didn't come to work, and they found him dead in where he lived. And but he was a real serious alcoholic, and he had the bulbous nose, the whole 9 yards. But yet he was functioning. He seemed to be able to function quite fine.
And people vary all over the place in how far damaged they are and how long they can live after they acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. So another question I have is, what actually is a hernia? What is it? There's a whole bunch of people, guys and gals have them. What causes a hernia? What is the treatment for hernia, and does it work?
Well, it's a weakness in a muscle or a sort of ligament in the body that allows it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's somewhere between muscle and ligament.
Okay.
And
so, part of the intestine will pop through?
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens if that's not treated or repaired?
Well, it can strangulate, which means cut off the blood supply, and that can cause very serious, even fatal effects. It certainly will send you, if it strangulates, pain alone will send you to the emergency room. And the repair is surgical. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it looks as if almost inevitably they're now put in some kind of artificial mesh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that idea.
Yeah, yeah. And there have been recalls in certain kinds of mesh, and I want to do some more research about that. So is there a way that the body can rebuild those stomach muscles?
Once it's been out of place probably not.
I remember reading Popular Mechanics magazine. I think it was Popular Mechanics that had advertisements where you could wear this thing. I think, was it called?
Pessary.
Okay. I think they referred to it as a truss or something like that as well.
Yeah, it can be called that too. A surgical truss or pessary.
Uh-huh. And people would wear them, but did they actually keep everything inside, the intestines inside, so that the body could heal, or was it just like an undergarment that you'd wear so you wouldn't have to have surgery right then?
Exactly. It's to try to prevent surgery.
Okay. But does the body ever heal with wearing one of those, or is it just let you think?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it just protects you.
Okay. All right. So then the next question is, I know a lot of people who have said they have hemorrhoids. So what actually is a hemorrhoid?
Now, that is a blood vessel that has become enlarged, if you will, and it pushes out, if you will, beyond the anus, or anywhere in and around the anus.
Mm-hmm. And are there, I've heard of truck drivers saying that, it's like one of the complications of being a truck driver is getting hemorrhoids. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a lot. Yep.
And so what is the treatment for a hemorrhoid?
Well, it can be a rubber band. It can be cautery, or it can be surgery.
Okay, when you say a rubber band, you're talking about, we use those for castrating little bull calves.
Yeah.
And class, this is like a very thick rubber band. It looks like a Cheerio. About the size.
It wouldn't be that big in using it for a hemorrhoid.
Mm-hmm. It's about the size, for cows or calves, it's about the size of a Cheerio, but it will expand to maybe the size of, if you put your thumb and forefinger together, the circle that would make, it will expand that big. And you just put the testicles inside that, both of them. You count 2, 1, 2, and then you put that band in there, and the testicles just starve for blood flow. In the people whom I come in contact with, it seems like a lot of people are depressed. And it seems like a lot of people are looking for virtual reality as compared to reality. And the depression seems to really hit at these family times of the year, like Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, when families get together. And that's the purpose of many of these days, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course, celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. But it's a made-up day. December 25th was just picked, but that's the day it's celebrated, and it's really a family day. It's not supposed to be about presents, and it's not supposed to be about give me more stuff. But there's so many people whom I see around outside of our family that are depressed, and there's been a study that using psilocybin, magic mushrooms, is the compounds in magic mushrooms being evaluated in a clinical trial to see if that will work to prevent or treat depression. Now, there's some dramatic side effects or complications of these magic mushrooms and the chemicals involved, the psilocybin. What are your thoughts about using that to treat depression, Dr. Shealy?
I don't like it. It carries too much risk of causing a problem rather than curing it. I think it's no better than the average drug, which sucks. There's not a single antidepressant drug which is worth trying, in my opinion.
Okay. All right. So if we carry that to the next step, and we say, okay, so a person's involved in an automobile accident, and to save that person's life, there's going to be the need for a transfusion, from another person's blood. Well, we're finding out now that because of being a consumer of tea and coffee and soda and other caffeine type foods, if you want to call them foods, that now that we're finding in the blood samples that would be used in hospitals for transfusions, there is a great likelihood that patients are giving blood transfusions that's not really pure. It's got Xanax or its equivalents, cough medicine, and other medications as part of we'll call it pure or believed to be pure blood that the patient is receiving. So these drugs are in the blood of people who are giving blood for medical life-saving purposes. Any comments, thoughts, concerns about that?
Well, theoretically, they're supposed to be better screened than that, but they're not. I mean, I wouldn't suggest caffeine be an exclusion, but I certainly think anybody taking any kind of mood drug or any kind of therapy drug should not be a candidate to give blood.
Well, marijuana has been legalized in many locations, many states, cities, and across the country have legalized marijuana. So and my concern is, what's wrong with being right down here on Earth in reality? What's so bad about that?
A lot of people don't like reality, let's face it.
Right.
They do everything they can to escape it.
But when they come back from that vacation, they're still here. And it's the same place, except maybe even worse now, because they've spent the money on that vacation, that mental vacation. And so if they were broken, that's the reason. It makes it worse for everybody. And I'm concerned about people driving under the influence of whatever they're under the influence of, including prescription medicines. Are there prescription medicines that you are concerned about that people would be driving under the influence of?
Well, actually, almost any, a huge majority of prescriptions have the risk of memory problems, fatigue, sudden problems with the brain functioning properly. So I got to tell you, I don't like it any way you look at it. But it's I'm not the one making the laws.
Okay, so memory and fatigue. I've got to tell you that most people who I would come in contact with would say, yeah, I'm pretty tired. Yeah, my memory's not as good as it was. And do you think that people have correlated the fact that their memory's not as good and they're more tired because of the, were they taking an average of 11 prescription drugs per day? The average senior, is that what it is? Or is it more than that now?
It's just beyond belief.
Right. And I have this,
like any.
I have this feeling that people don't correlate what is happening to them with the drugs that they're taking, with the complications of one drug with the next, and one drug will alleviate some of the complications of the first drug, and so forth. And pretty soon they're up to 11 or 12 or 19. I mean, I don't think people can even figure out how many drugs they're taking. It's so many. And one of the questions I'm asked whenever I go to my annual checkup is, what medications are you on? I mean, they're very concerned about that. You taking? No, I'm not taking it.
And you and I are among those who say none.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy, thanks so much for being with us today.